The sun sank low over Maple Avenue, spilling gold across the quiet suburban street. From afar, everything looked peaceful. Trimmed lawns, white fences, the calm hum of a small American neighborhood. But behind one cracked sidewalk and a chipped white porch, that calm shattered, with a sob so faint and trembling it could have been mistaken for the wind. A little boy stood there clutching a worn-out teddy bear. His cheeks were streaked with tears, his voice breaking through the stillness. "He hit my grandma," he whispered. Those 5 words carried enough pain to break the calm of the world. If you believe no child should ever cry out of fear, that kindness and courage still matter, take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, where compassion proves to be the strongest power of all. The boy's name was Ethan, just 6 years old. Dust covered his hoodie from where he'd stumbled down the steps, running. Behind him on the porch sat his grandmother, Clara, her soft blue dress torn, a bruise blooming dark on her face. She tried to hide the pain from him, but some things can't be hidden. At the doorway loomed Ray, tall, red-faced, half-drunk, beer bottle in hand. He wasn't family, just a man who'd promised to help out after Clara's husband died. But instead, he brought anger, control, pain. Ethan had run barefoot down the path, clutching that teddy bear his grandma once sewed for him when life was gentler. He didn't know where he was going, only that someone, anyone, had to help. Then came the sound, a deep, thunderous growl of engines, rolling closer like a storm. 6 motorcycles turned the corner, sunlight glinting off chrome. They stopped in front of Clara's house. The man leading them was impossible to miss. Tall, broad, a salt and pepper beard framing a face carved by years of hard living. Tattoos coiled down his arms like old scars. Across his black leather vest, Hell's Angels. Below it, a smaller patch, RL, CHLLs. His name was Reed, the kind of man whose silence carried weight, whose presence alone could still the air. When he saw the crying boy by the steps, Reed killed the engine, swung off the bike, and crouched beside him. "Hey, buddy," he said softly, voice rough but warm. "What happened?" Ethan didn't speak. He just pointed toward the porch, toward Clara, toward the man standing over her. Reed's jaw tightened. Something inside him, something old and familiar, flared to life. He had seen this before, lived it. As a child too small to fight back. But now, he wasn't small anymore. He rose slowly, eyes locked on the man with the bottle. Behind him his crew stood, silent, solid, unflinching. The street had gone still. Curtains twitched. Doors cracked open. The neighborhood could feel the shift. "This ain't your business," Ray muttered, voice trembling. Reed took a step forward, calm, steady, unstoppable. "It became my business," he said quietly, "the moment I heard a child say those words." The beer bottle wavered in Ray's hand. His bravado drained, replaced by something closer to shame. He looked at Clara, the woman he'd hurt, then at Ethan, who'd run to strangers for help. His lips moved, but no words came, because the truth stood before him, not in threats, but in presence. A line of men who'd once been broken, rebuilt into shields for others. Ethan stood behind Reed, still clutching his teddy bear. For the first time, the man who hurt his grandma looked small. Reed didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need fists. His presence was enough, justice wrapped in quiet strength. "She doesn't need your help anymore," Reed said, low and even. "Pack your things. You're done here." Ray backed away, one step, then another, before stumbling inside. Moments later, his truck roared to life and vanished down the street. Silence settled again. But this time, it was peaceful. Reed turned to Clara, kneeling beside her. She tried to smile through her tears. "You didn't have to," she whispered. "Ma'am," he said gently, "no one should ever have to live scared, not you." "Not him." His voice cracked just slightly as he glanced at Ethan. Then he nodded to his men. They stepped forward quietly, one offering water, another pulling out a first aid kit, Neighbors watched from their porches as the so-called dangerous men treated Clara with a tenderness the world rarely expected. They called for help, stayed until she was safe. When the ambulance arrived, Reed remained with Ethan, sitting on the porch steps as the sun slipped lower in the sky. For the first time, the boy smiled. Small, fragile, but real. It was enough to make Reed's throat tighten. As paramedics helped Clara inside, Ethan turned, wrapped his tiny arms around Reed's. "Thank you," he whispered. Reed looked down, nodded once, the kind of nod that said everything words couldn't. When the ambulance pulled away, the bikers mounted up. Engines rumbled to life. Before Reed rode off, he looked back one last time, at the little boy waving from the porch, at the house no longer broken. He didn't speak, but the thought echoed in his heart. Sometimes the loudest acts of kindness come from the quietest souls. He revved the bike once, not as a threat, but as a promise. That kindness still rides where it's needed most. If this story touched your heart, or reminded you that strength and compassion can come from the unlikeliest people, like, share and subscribe to Kindness Corner, because sometimes one moment of courage can change everything.